The night sky above the alien world was black like endless water. Stars shone cold and bright, as if they were watching from far away. On the surface of the planet, the ruins of a once great city stretched for miles. Tall towers were broken like bones, and roads were buried under dust and silence. Nothing lived there anymore, or so it seemed. A single human figure walked slowly through the ruins. His name was Captain Elias Gray, an explorer, a soldier, and sometimes a survivor. He was sent by the United Earth Alliance to search for old technology. Whispers said this planet once belonged to a powerful empire of the stars, an empire that ruled thousands of worlds before it suddenly fell into darkness. Elias felt the weight of history with every step he took. He entered a wide hall, broken walls rising around him like the ribs of a giant beast. The floor was cracked but smooth, covered in strange symbols glowing faintly. At the center stood a throne, tall, sharp, and black like obsidian. It was not empty, for the air around it seemed alive. Elias felt his chest tighten as if unseen eyes were watching him. He stepped closer, his flashlight sweeping over carvings. The throne had marks that looked like stars joined in strange patterns. It almost seemed to breathe, and the silence was heavier than any sound. Elias whispered to himself, "What is this place?" But his words echoed back to him, twisted, like another voice had spoken. Suddenly the air shimmered. A soft laugh filled the hall, light at first, then sharp and cold. It was the laugh of a woman, clear and strong. The sound froze Elias where he stood, his heart hammering in his chest. He raised his weapon, but the laugh only grew louder. Then a voice came, smooth like silk, but heavy with command. "Restore my throne and I will give you everything you desire," she said. The voice did not come from a body, but from everywhere at once. Elias turned in circles, searching for the source. His flashlight caught the shape of a figure forming before the throne. A woman, tall, wrapped in light and shadow. Her eyes glowed like stars, and her face was both beautiful and dangerous. Elias wanted to speak, but his throat was dry. The woman smiled faintly, her voice cutting the silence again. "I was betrayed, my kingdom stolen, my throne broken," she said. Her tone was soft, but Elias felt the power behind every word. The walls seemed to hum and the glowing marks on the floor grew brighter. Her laugh returned, this time filled with something wild. Elias lowered his weapon, though his hand still shook. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The woman's form flickered like fire, but her eyes never left his. "I am your queen," she said, "the true ruler of this world and beyond. Help me rise again, and you will have riches, glory, and power without end." Her words pulled at Elias's heart, tempting him. But another part of him, the part that had seen too many wars, felt a warning. He took a step back, but the throne pulsed with light. The ground shook, dust falling from the broken ceiling. Elias's equipment buzzed as if strong energy was filling the air. He heard her laugh again, echoing against the ruined walls. It was not the laugh of kindness, but of someone who already believed victory was certain. Elias stared at the throne, at the woman, and at the glowing floor. He knew he had stepped into something far larger than himself. This was no simple ruin, no empty city of the past. Something old, powerful, and hungry had been waiting for a human to walk in and listen. And now, he realized, it had found him. His pulse raced, his mind screamed to run, but his legs refused to move. The woman raised her hand slowly, as if commanding the air itself. The marks on the floor lit up like fire. The throne roared with deep sound, shaking the hall like thunder. "Restore my throne," she whispered again, "and I'll give you everything you desire." Her laugh rang one last time, sharp and endless. Elias felt the truth hit him. This was only the beginning. Elias stood frozen before the throne, the voice still echoing in his ears. The ruined hall was alive now, glowing with lines of light across the floor. He felt the weight of something ancient pressing on his chest. The air was thick, heavy, and it hummed as if the stones themselves were awake. His eyes locked on the throne where the figure of the woman flickered like a flame. At first she was only shadow and light, a shape without a body. Then, piece by piece, her form grew clearer. Long hair fell down her shoulders like threads of night. Her face was sharp, noble, and strange, with eyes that burned like twin stars. Her body shimmered in armor that looked alive. It shifted and moved as if woven from starlight and dark metal. Elias felt a shiver crawl down his spine. He had seen alien leaders before, seen warlords and commanders, but none of them looked like her. There was something human in her face, but something far older in her eyes. It was as if she had lived 1,000 years and seen galaxies rise and fall. The woman's smile curved slowly. She stepped down from the throne, though her feet barely touched the ground. Her movement was smooth, graceful, almost unreal. The sound of her voice returned, soft but cutting like a blade. "You stand in my hall, little human," she said. "Do you know whose ruins you walk upon?" Elias swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted to answer, but the words caught in his mouth. The woman tilted her head, her star-like eyes never leaving him. "I am Seraphis, the true ruler of the stellar dominion," she said. "My throne was stolen, my armies scattered, my crown broken. But I remain, and I wait for one bold enough to restore me." Her words hit Elias like a storm. The stellar dominion. The name was familiar from old records. It was the empire that ruled before humans had even reached the stars. They had disappeared so suddenly that historians called it the Great Silence. And now, here stood their queen, alive in shadow and light. She moved closer, and though she did not touch him, Elias felt her presence like fire. "You are human," she said, her voice almost amused. "Fragile, weak in body, yet clever, and stubborn beyond measure." Her laugh echoed again, light but sharp. "It is no accident you came here, it is fate." Elias tightened his grip on his weapon, but deep down he knew it would be useless. He forced himself to speak, his voice shaking. "Why me?" he asked. "Why not one of your own people?" The queen's eyes flashed brighter, and for a moment her smile vanished. "My own kind betrayed me," she said, her voice heavy with rage. "They tore my crown into pieces and chained my throne. They feared me, for I would not bow, I would not bend." Her hand rose, and suddenly the walls around them changed. The broken stones melted into visions of the past. Elias saw armies of shining soldiers marching across the stars. He saw fleets of ships burning worlds. He saw entire planets kneeling before her. At the center of it all sat the queen on her black throne. Her voice rang over the vision. "With me, there is order. There is strength, there is destiny." The visions faded and the ruins returned. The queen stood only a few steps away from Elias now. Her eyes locked onto his as if she could see through his soul. "Restore my throne," she said, her tone softer now. "And I will give you what no human has ever known. Power, knowledge, desire, anything you dream." Elias's heart pounded. He thought of Earth, still young compared to the stars. He thought of humanity, fragile but rising. Was this a chance for humans to stand equal with the greatest empire that ever lived? Or was it a trap wrapped in promises? The queen seemed to sense his doubt. She leaned closer, her smile returning, her voice like velvet. "Do not fear me," she whispered. "I have waited for you, not to chain you, but to raise you higher. You will be my champion, my sword, my shield. Together we will bring fire back to the stars." Her laugh came again, softer, almost musical, but Elias still felt the weight of iron behind it. The glowing lines on the floor pulsed with each sound. The throne behind her shook slightly as if eager to rise. The air burned with energy that pressed against his skin. Elias took a slow step back, his instincts screaming. But another part of him, the explorer, the dreamer, wanted to know more. He could not deny the pull of her words. Her presence was both terrifying and beautiful. Like standing at the edge of a great storm, he knew one choice could change not only his life, but the fate of humanity. The queen raised her hand once more, her star-like eyes glowing brighter. "Will you walk away into silence?" she asked. "Or will you claim the destiny waiting for you?" Her laugh rang out once more, filling the hall, and Elias realized he was already caught in her web. The throne pulsed again, alive with fire and shadow, and the first piece of her game had been set. The hall grew silent again. Though the glow on the floor still pulsed like a heartbeat, Elias stood facing the queen, his breath heavy, his mind racing. Her eyes never looked away from him, burning with both promise and danger. It felt less like a meeting and more like a test, as if every word he spoke would decide his fate. The queen's voice came softer this time, steady and calm. "You have questions, human," she said. "Ask them, and I will answer." Elias licked his dry lips, his voice low but firm. "What do you really want from me?" he asked. The queen tilted her head slightly, her smile curling like smoke. "I want what was taken," she replied, her tone smooth. "My throne, my crown, my empire, they were stolen by traitors. But I am not gone, not broken, not defeated. Help me restore my throne, and I will raise you higher than any human has ever dreamed." Her words hung in the air like fire. Elias felt their weight, but he also felt the danger beneath them. He forced himself to look into her glowing eyes and asked again, "Why me? Why a human? Why not one of your own kind?" The queen's smile faded, her eyes narrowing with memory and fury. "My kind betrayed me," she said, her voice sharp like iron. "They feared my strength. They envied my vision. They swore loyalty with their mouths, but in their hearts they plotted. They shattered my crown into shards and chained my throne to the ruins you see." She paused, her expression softening into something like sorrow. "But you, human, you are different." Elias frowned, unsure if her words were truth or manipulation. The queen stepped closer, her voice lowering, almost intimate. "Humans are reckless, yes, fragile in body, yet you endure where others fall. You dream, you fight, you rise from nothing. That is why I chose you, Elias Gray. Not your weapon, not your army, but your will." Elias's heart jumped when she said his name. He had not spoken it, but she knew, as if she had pulled it from his very mind. A chill ran through him, but he did not break her gaze. "And what if I refuse?" and he asked quietly. Her laugh returned, soft but cutting. "You will not refuse," she said, "because you have already tasted the edge of my promise." The queen lifted her hand and the air shimmered. Visions appeared around Elias, glowing like fire in the dark. He saw great ships rising into the sky with the flag of Earth painted on their sides. He saw alien armies kneeling before humans, swearing loyalty. He saw treasures of light, machines of power, secrets of the stars laid bare. He saw Earth, no longer weak, but shining as the center of a vast empire. "Everything you desire," the queen whispered, her eyes never leaving his. "All of it will be yours if you restore my throne." Elias's chest tightened, his mind torn. The visions burned in him, filling him with a hunger he had never felt before. But deep inside, a voice of caution whispered, "Power always has a price." He stepped back, shaking his head slightly. "What must I do?" he asked, his voice heavy. The queen's smile widened, her laugh returning like silver bells. "Ah, now you understand," she said. "You see the truth of destiny." Her hand moved again, and the visions shifted. This time Elias saw a tall crown made of crystal shards. It burned with light so bright it hurt his eyes. "My crown was broken into pieces," she explained. 7 shards scattered across the stars, guarded by those who betrayed me. Without them, the throne is weak and I remain only shadow. Bring them back to me and you will rise as my champion." Elias's grip tightened on his weapon. 7 shards, he repeated. "And where are they?" The queen's eyes flickered, glowing even brighter. "Each shard rests in the hands of my enemies, hidden in worlds of fire, water, and shadow. You will face them and you will prove the strength of humans." Her voice turned sharp, powerful again. "You ask why me, Elias Gray, and this is why. Because only a human would dare steal from gods, only a human would defy the impossible. Others would bow or break, but you will fight." Elias felt her words strike deep. She was not only offering power, She was challenging him, and though he feared her, part of him wanted to rise to that challenge. Her laugh echoed once more, filling the ruined hall. "You will bring me my crown, human," she said, "and in return, I will give you glory beyond your imagination." Elias stared at her, at the glowing throne, at the burning visions. He knew the bargain was set, the trap or the promise, whichever it truly was. The queen was not asking, she was declaring. Her eyes locked onto his like chains of light. And in that moment, Elias realized he had already taken the first step. The path of the shards had begun, and there was no turning back. The queen's glowing eyes never left Elias. The hall was quiet now, but the silence was heavy, like a chain around his neck. Her throne pulsed with light, waiting, and the air hummed with her power. She had promised him everything, but promises alone were not enough. Now she wanted proof. "You have heard my bargain," she said softly. "But words are wind and trust must be earned." Elias frowned, his grip tightening on his weapon. "What do you mean?" he asked. The queen's smile grew sharp, her voice rising with command. "A throne cannot be restored by the hands of the weak," she said. "Before you claim my crown, you must prove your loyalty." Her hand lifted, and the floor between them cracked with light. Images appeared, floating like fire across the air. Elias saw a black shard, glowing with fierce energy. It looked alive, burning with heat and shadow. "One shard of my crown lies in the fortress of the Drokai," she said. "They were once my servants, but now they sit on stolen thrones of their own. They guard the shard as if it were their heart. Bring it to me, and I will know you are worthy." Elias stared at the image, his heart racing. The Drokai, he had heard of them in whispers. A brutal species of warriors, taller and stronger than men. They crushed enemies with brute force and left nothing alive behind. To face them alone was madness, yet the queen spoke as if it were destiny. "I'm just one man," Elias said, his voice sharp with doubt. "How do you expect me to fight an entire fortress?" The queen's laugh rang out, soft and mocking. "You are human," she said. "And humans do not fight with strength. They fight with fire, with cunning, with the will to survive. Your weakness is your weapon, Elias Gray, and I will see if you can wield it." Elias clenched, his jaw, feeling the weight of her challenge. She was not only sending him into danger, she was testing his soul. If he refused, she would see him as weak. If he agreed, he risked walking into death itself. But deep inside, the fire of curiosity and defiance burned. He wanted to know if humans could stand in the shadow of gods and still survive. The queen's form flickered closer, her presence pressing against him. Her voice softened, though her eyes stayed sharp. "Do this for me and you will have my trust," she said. "Fail, and you will remain just another shadow in my ruined hall." Her laugh came again, light but cruel. It echoed across the ruins. Bouncing off broken stone, Elias lowered his weapon and nodded slowly. "I'll do it," he said, though fear burned in his chest. The queen's smile widened and her throne pulsed brighter. "Good," she whispered. "Then let your trial begin." The hall around them shook, and the visions of the Drokai fortress burned brighter. He saw tall black walls under a red sky, towers armed with strange weapons, and at the center, locked in chains of fire, the shard of her crown. The vision faded, leaving only silence. But Elias knew the trial was real, not dream. The queen's laugh faded into the shadows, her figure dissolving like smoke. He was left alone with the throne, glowing faintly in the ruined hall. His path was set, his choice already made. He stepped outside into the broken city. The alien sky stretched wide above him, red stars glowing like eyes. The ruins felt different now, less empty, more alive, as if the queen's will reached even into the stones. Elias walked slowly, his thoughts heavy. He had faced wars, but never a trial like this. This was not just survival. It was a test of loyalty, of destiny. Every step echoed with the queen's words in his head. "You are human, weak yet clever, fragile yet unbroken." He wondered if she was right. Could humanity really stand against empires that had ruled for ages? Could one man carry the weight of a fallen throne? His hand touched the weapon at his side. It felt small, almost useless against the image of the Drokai fortress. But he knew his true weapon was not steel. It was his will. He had nothing to trust but his mind, his instincts, his courage. That was what the Queen wanted, what she was testing. Elias stopped and looked back once. The ruins glowed faintly, the throne hidden within like a beating heart. The Queen's laugh echoed faintly in his memory. She had set him on this path, but the choice of how to walk it was still his. He turned away, his jaw firm, his eyes sharp. The trial of loyalty had begun, and he would not bow, not even to a queen of stars. The ruins of the ancient hall glowed brighter than ever. Elias stood before the throne, the shard of the crown burning in his hand. It was heavy, heavier than stone, but alive, pulsing like a heart. He felt its energy flow through him, sharp and wild. Every beat whispered with a strange voice calling him deeper. The Queen appeared once more, her form clear now. Her body shimmered like silver fire, her eyes brighter than stars. She stretched out her hand, her smile smooth and sharp. "Give it to me, Elias Grey," she said softly. "Place the shard where it belongs, let my throne awaken." Elias hesitated, his chest tight. He remembered her promise, her laughter, her visions of power, but he also remembered the danger in her words. She wanted her crown, she wanted her throne, and with it, she would want the galaxy too. Still, he stepped closer, lifting the shard. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, her voice rose with excitement. "Yes, Elias, yes, restore what was broken, bring me back to my seat." Her laugh echoed sharp across the chamber. It was not the laugh of joy, it was the laugh of victory. The shard slid into place above the throne. Light burst across the walls, flooding the ruins. The ground shook like thunder, dust raining from the broken ceiling. The throne roared, alive again after centuries of silence. Elias shielded his eyes. As power surged across the hall, when the light calmed, the throne was no longer broken. Its black surface glowed with lines of fire, its crown burning above it. The Queen stood taller, her shadow spreading wide across the walls. Her laughter returned, louder now, ringing sharp through the ruins. "My throne rises again," she declared. Elias stepped back, his heart hammering. He felt the power pressing against his chest, heavy and endless. The Queen's soldiers appeared once more, shadows forming into armored shapes. They knelt before her, their weapons raised in silence. The hall was no longer empty. It was an army's birth. The Queen turned to him, her eyes blazing. "You see now, Elias Grey," she said. "You were not chosen by mistake. You are my hand, my champion. With you, my empire will rise from ash, and all will bow again." Her voice rang with certainty, every word heavy with command. Elias gritted his teeth, doubt twisting in his chest. He had done what she asked, he had restored the shard, but the more her throne awakened, the more he feared her promise. Her tone was not one of peace, but of conquest. Her dream was not justice, but vengeance. The Queen's smile widened, her laughter sharp. "Do not fear, Elias, for I am generous," she said. "You will have your share of glory. Your name will be sung by the stars. You will stand beside me when the galaxy kneels." Her words cut like chains, heavy and binding. Elias looked at the soldiers kneeling, at the throne glowing. He saw not glory, but endless war. He saw not freedom, but domination. And he realized the throne was not just rising, it was consuming. The Queen's power grew with every breath, every laugh. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on him. "You have proven yourself, Elias Grey," she whispered. "Now you are mine, and together we will burn the stars bright again." Her hand brushed the air before him, but he felt it like fire on his skin. Her laughter filled his ears, drowning every thought. Elias clenched his fists, his heart fighting inside him. He had restored her throne, but at what cost? The visions she once showed him returned in his mind, humans ruling, armies kneeling, treasures shining. But behind it all, he now saw her shadow, endless and merciless. The throne pulsed once more, its crown blazing with fire. The soldiers struck the floor in unison, the sound shaking the hall. The queen raised her arms high, her voice rising. "The stellar dominion lives again," she declared. "Soon, the galaxy will remember its true ruler." Elias stood still, his breath deep, his eyes locked on her. He knew he could not walk away. Anymore, he was part of something too large, too dangerous, too alive, but deep inside a small voice whispered, "Humans do not bow forever. Humans choose." The queen's laughter echoed again, rolling like thunder. She believed her victory was complete, but Elias's eyes told a different story, sharp and unbroken. The throne was rising, yes, but so was his resolve. And in that moment, he knew a greater trial was coming. The hall of the throne burned with new life. The air was heavy with power, the walls glowing with strange fire. Elias stood near the throne, his chest rising and falling fast. He had returned from the trial, scarred, exhausted but alive. In his hands, the shard of the crown pulsed like a living heart. The queen appeared once more, her form tall and bright. Her eyes glowed like suns. Her voice filled the hall. "You have done well, human," she said softly. "You have faced my enemies, and you have proved your will." Her smile curved, smooth and dangerous. Elias dropped the shard into her hands. The throne pulsed brighter, the ground shaking beneath his boots. The shard melted into light, fusing into the crown above the throne. A deep hum spread through the hall, vibrating in his bones. The throne was no longer silent, it was awakening. The queen laughed, her voice echoing sharp across the chamber. "You see, Elias Gray, you were never weak," she said. "You were chosen because only you could succeed." Her eyes burned as she stepped closer, her presence pressing like fire. "But this is only the beginning." Elias frowned, his instincts restless. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice firm. The queen's smile grew wide, her laugh dark. "My enemies will fall, and their worlds will burn," she said. "My armies will rise again, and the galaxy will kneel." Elias's chest tightened, her words cutting deep. He had thought this was about restoring her throne, her crown, her honor. But now her voice carried something sharper, something cruel. She no longer spoke of justice, but of conquest. No longer of restoration, but of vengeance. Her hand rose, and suddenly the hall filled with light. Figures appeared, kneeling soldiers made of shadow and fire, armored warriors with blades of energy. Their heads bowed to her. The throne roared, its hum now a deep growl. The queen's eyes glowed brighter, her voice rising like thunder. "My children return to me," she declared. "My throne awakens, my crown grows strong, my army bows again. They betrayed me once, but they will serve me again." Her laugh rang across the walls, sharp and endless. The soldiers pounded their weapons against the floor in unison. Elias stepped back, his breath quick. This was no promise of peace, no dream of balance. This was the rebirth of an empire of chains. He remembered her words when they first met. "Restore my throne and I'll give you everything you desire," she had said, but now he understood. Her gift was not freedom. It was power bound by her will. Her promise was a trap, her laughter, the lock. She had never wanted an equal. She wanted a servant, a champion to do her bidding, not a partner. To share her rule. Her eyes locked on him as if she had read his thoughts. "You hesitate, Elias Gray," she said, her tone sharp. "You wonder if I am a tyrant, if I am cruel." Her smile returned, wide and merciless. "But let me remind you, empires are not built on kindness. They are built on strength. On fire, on fear." Elias's jaw tightened, his heart hammering. He had fought wars, seen tyrants, buried friends. He knew the look of power twisted by revenge, and he knew he could not trust her laughter anymore. Still, part of him whispered, what if she was right? The queen lifted her hand, pointing at him like a blade. "You are mine now," she said, her voice thunderous. "You brought me the shard. You awakened my throne, you cannot leave." The soldiers of fire turned their heads toward him, their eyes burning with silent orders. Elias gripped his weapon, though he knew it was useless. He felt the choice press down on him like a mountain. If he obeyed, humanity might rise under her shadow. If he resisted, he might die here, alone, forgotten. The Queen's laugh rang once more, sharp as lightning. "You dreamed of greatness, Elias," she said, "and I gave it to you, yet you still doubt." Her eyes blazed brighter, the throne pulsed harder, her shadow grew tall, filling the hall with endless fire. "Serve me, or be destroyed," she declared. Elias's chest rose and fell as he stood firm. The soldiers stepped forward, their blades glowing red. The Queen's laughter rolled across the stones like thunder. The throne shook, alive and burning with power, and Elias knew the great betrayal was no longer hidden. It was here. The hall shook like a storm was trapped inside its walls. The throne blazed with power, the crown burning with shards of light. The soldiers of fire stood ready, their eyes locked on Elias. And above them all, the Queen's laughter rolled like thunder. Her voice was victory, sharp and certain. "You see, Elias Gray," she said, "I was never broken, only waiting. My throne is alive again, my armies return, my enemies will fall." She raised her hand, and the soldiers slammed their weapons into the ground. The sound was like a war drum shaking the very stones. Elias's chest rose and fell fast. The Queen's promises still echoed in his head. Glory, knowledge, power. Everything he had once dreamed of. But now those dreams looked like chains. Chains that would bind not only him, but all of humanity. Her eyes locked onto his, bright as burning suns. "You brought me back. You proved your loyalty," she said. "You are mine now, my champion, my sword of conquest." She stepped closer, her presence crushing, her shadow stretching long. "With me you will rule, with me you will never fear weakness again." Elias tightened his grip on his weapon. He had fought tyrants before, but none like this. This was not just a queen. She was an empire wrapped in flesh and fire. Her laughter filled his ears, promising both greatness and ruin, and he knew now the bargain was never fair. He remembered her first words. "Restore my throne, and I'll give you everything you desire," she had said. But her desire was not his. Her gift was not freedom. It was domination, and if he bowed, humanity would bow with him. The Queen's soldiers stepped forward, their blades glowing red. The throne pulsed, hungry for his choice. Serve or resist, rise or fall. The Queen lifted, her crown, shards glowing brighter than stars. Her voice cut through the air like fire. "Bow, Elias, and together we will conquer the galaxy," she said. "Defy me, and you will die as nothing, forgotten and small." Her laugh followed, sharp, endless, sure of her victory. She believed he would kneel. She believed all humans would kneel. But Elias's heart beat with another truth. Humans had always been weak compared to the stars. But they had something no empire understood. They had the will to choose, even in the face of death. Elias felt that truth burn inside him like fire, and he knew then what he must do. He looked up at the throne, at the Queen's glowing crown, at the soldiers ready to strike, at the hall alive with power, and his voice came steady, louder than before. "You promised me everything I desire," he said, "but you don't understand what humans truly want." The Queen's eyes narrowed, her smile fading. "And what is that, fragile man?" she asked, her voice sharp. Elias raised his weapon, his jaw tight, his eyes fierce. "We don't want chains. We don't want thrones. We don't want a bow," he said. "We want freedom, and no crown can buy it." For the first time, the Queen's laughter stopped. Her soldiers froze. The throne pulsed uncertainly. The hall grew silent, as if the stones themselves were listening. Elias stepped forward, fire in his eyes. "If I must die, I'll die as a man who chose, not as your puppet." He raised his weapon toward the throne. The Queen's eyes blazed with fury, her voice like a scream. "Foolish human," she roared. "You cannot kill what is eternal." But Elias fired, the blast striking the glowing shards of the crown. The throne shook violently, the light cracking like glass. The queen screamed, her form flickering like broken fire. The soldiers staggered, their weapons falling to ash. The hall roared as the power inside the throne shattered, stone broke, light burst, the ruins trembled. Elias stood firm, his weapon burning hot in his hands. The queen's voice came again, but weaker now. You could have ruled the stars, she hissed. You could have been more than human. Elias's voice came strong, steady, final. I'd rather be human than your slave, he said. The throne cracked. The crown split into light. The soldiers dissolved into smoke. The hall shook one last time. The queen's form shattered into sparks, her laughter cut short. And then silence returned, heavy and endless. Elias dropped to his knees, his chest heaving. The ruins were dark again, empty, broken, silent. The throne was dead, the crown destroyed. But Elias was alive, and more than that, free. He looked at the stars above through the broken ceiling, and he whispered to himself, "Humans choose, always."